Alright, hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about the Walpurgis banner. This banner is actually an insane banger. These IDs are pretty insane. Dawn is a very powerful charge ID, and you want to pair her with the Ego because you can get an additional skill tree. It's extremely strong. And Rodion is an insane unit, but she comes with a weird part about her where she actually doesn't need to be in the protecting sword form at all. So let's look at Rodion first. She's a very powerful unit. There's just so many things that she gets from her passives. First off, if you go into despair mode, by just pressing your guard skill one time, you now have Tear Sharpened, and in Tear Sharpened mode you lose SP, so you become a negative form, and in the negative form you stay there forever. You can even lose another 5 million SP and you get locked at 40 SP. You can even prevent yourself from corroding one time. You are very good at controlling this character in the Despair form. The Despair form also gives you inflict +1 sinking count once per turn whenever you clash. On hit with the first coin of a base attack skill, inflict +1 sinking count once per turn. And for every -20 SP, you inflict +1 more count with these effects over here. Meaning your sinking count is insane. It's +3 and +3 over here. So that's a lot of sinking count. And also your skills, Potency, whatever. Skill 2 also has sinking count on it. Skill 3 has 4 sinking count on it. So you are very easily just maintaining sinking count just by yourself. This ID is super good for sinking count maintenance. That's on top of the fact that this ID also does a billion damage, because the piercing swords themselves give you offense level up, which is nice for clashing and a bit of extra damage. But you also have the Tear Sharpened. Tear Sharpened, if you get 3 stacks, you just do a billion damage again with the skill 3-2. You get a 50% damage with that coin. You have 3 sinking and 3 sinking count over here, and you reset back to normal after you pop the big rotation. So the character is all about rotating the skills, but it's super easy to understand, because all you need to do is defense, go into Tear Sharpen mode, get as much negative sanity as possible, and then just spam every skill, and then when you're ready to see your skill tree come up, and you want to pop it to go back to normal, you press your defense one more time, get the last Tear Sharpen, then you press skill 3, and that's it. You just keep doing that part. You never actually stay in the Blessing form, which I think is a bit of a waste. The Blessing form is something like a protection taunt form, which I end up just not wanting to use, because the DPS form is just so insane. Because the DPS form has so much sinking count and sinking potency application, right? Like, yes, the Blessing form does have additional buffs to its defense levels and whatnot, and also gives more sinking potency application when they get hit. But the Despair form gives you the piercing swords, and the piercing swords all do sinking potency on hit. So literally, it is just the Blessing form, but has the additional sinking potency anyway. So like, why not just stay in piercing sword form for the entire time? This character is very powerful, and the flow is as simple as defense, skill 1, skill 2, skill 1, skill 2, skill 1, skill 2. You stay at -40 sanity for the entire game, and then when you're ready to pop skill 3, you just defense one more time and skill 3, and that's it. That's the character's entire rotation, and she does a billion potencies and counts, and does a lot of damage. She has what, 50% damage with that coin over here, so you want to go and set up 3 Tear Sharpen before you use skill 3, and when you do that, you get additional 60% damage over here, right? And then if you defeat the target, you get half of your deep tears back. You also get a reuse coin, and this thing over here also gets base power +1 for every 5 stacks of your deep tears consumed. So you can get a whopping 4 over here, so it's 24, and then another 24 over here. And then you also have the multiplier from the final coin from the Tear Sharpen when you pop this skill. So that's the thing that you need to aim for, right? For just using this Tear Sharpen with that skill 3-2. If you don't really want to pop the Tear Sharpen yet, because you will reset yourself back to normal, then don't. Just stay in skill 1 and skill 2 forever, and then when you're ready, then you pop the skill 3. That's the only time you actually want to pop the skill 3, right? And if you want to stay in Tear Sharpen for longer, then just don't Tear Sharpen. Just stay in skill 2 Tear Sharpen for the rest of the game, and it's still also something that you can do, right? It's just insanely good. And take note, you also have what, 20% multi here, additional multi here, and additional power here for additional coin damage over here. So you have a +1 base power and another +4 base power for 25. So it's 100 100 roll over here if you get the additional +1 from one of your from your power up over here from the piercing sword, which only requires you, by the way, to be at -40 sanity, which is where you will be the entire game, right? You will always be -40 sanity the moment you stab yourself twice. You can only go lower if someone hits you with sinking and whatnot, but even then you can make yourself not sink. You can make yourself not corrode, because you have the passive that lets you just make sure you don't drop to -45 SP. Like, that's just insane. And also by default, you can never ever drop to -40 or below that. So it's just really powerful. Really easy character, really strong. Also is Rodion, which means you have access to Rhyme Shank. And this character is what? Gloom, Envy, and Pride. So that's just Rhyme Shank resources. So this character can do any sinking thing that you could possibly want to do with this character. It's a very powerful character. She can be a very Unga Bunga character by herself just because she's very self-sufficient with the count and the potency. I don't understand the downside of going into the despair form, because it's just so good compared to the blessing form due to the additional damage multipliers and all the stuff you're getting. So she becomes an insane DPS. Yes, the regular form does get protections and whatnot, but that doesn't really matter for a lot of content where you can just go and hit the boss until he has a lot of sinking on him, and then he has -45 sanity, and then he loses every clash to you. So like, that's another way you can control the enemy. So the despair form is also some way a control, and you also can clash still. You can still clash enemies in order to get even more sinking counts onto them. So this character is just, wow, insane character. That's an absolutely insane character, right? Moving on, we have Dawn. For Dawn, the only reason I see to actually use this ego is straight up because you want to get the additional +1 skill use. So the whole game is actually just farming up these energies over here. Pop this ego one time, you get this additional part over here that gives you additional damage multis, which is great because it affects every single base attack skill, and it also gives you one more skill tree. And one more skill tree is just absolutely insane because it's basically like having another dimension rip, right? You just have another skill tree basically, which is very powerful, and it's like a charge team, right? Your skill trees are going to be extremely powerful and they consume all of your charge. That's exactly what Dawn gets here. So that makes you be able to do skill 1 into skill 2, skill 1 into skill 2, and then skill 3, and then skill 3 again. Like, you can do a lot of crazy shit like that because you have an additional skill tree here with this Dawn. It's very powerful. The ego itself, the corroded form, I don't find myself using it too often. I just generally pop this awakening part here purely because I want to get a second skill tree, which makes Dawn insanely strong. Very powerful. Yes, the buffs are really nice if you pair her with the charge team, but even by herself, just popping this ego is just to get another skill tree for herself, which is an insane buff. Very insane buff. So 100% you want to go and get this ego. It's very good, and purely because of this line over here. Yes, you can get additional buffs over here, that's great and all, but we actually only need the ego for this one line over here. It's straight up another skill tree. It's super powerful. Alright, then we go to the Dawn itself. Dawn has very similar charge gains to something like multi-crack. She consumes 5 here and she gains 6 in total with her skill 1. However, as you can see here, right, the multi-cracks, they gain 3 and consume 5, while Dawn gains 6 and then consume 5, which means that Dawn is actually very self-sufficient by herself. Don't actually need another person to feed her charge count. The multi-cracks, they need people to feed them charge count because they have 5 and 3, which is awkward for them. They have to play the skill 1 twice. For Dawn, she plays it once and she can start eating her own charge count already by herself. Skill 2 is the same. You consume 6 and then gain 5 and then gain 4. You gain 9 in total, which is quite insane actually. So yeah, that's very powerful, and it means you're very self-sufficient. You are getting 9, consume 6. You can just basically be spamming your skill 2 quite often, right? You can use skill 1 and then skill 2 and then just start eating it over time. If you pop a teleport Dawn, for example, you get 10 charge count. You can just use that to jumpstart your charge count gains, and then you can start eating your own charge count also. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do to get the charge count. Your WoW ego also gives you charge count, so you can just use everything possible in this character's kit to just give you a bunch of ways to get charge count. You can use other people also. Electric Screaming Sheep from Assault all also can help you to get the charge count that you need to just farm faster. You need to get the potency of the Love and Hatred, so you can get the additional damage multipliers from your ego, and then you also get really high multis from something like your skill tree, because this one is based on your charge potency. So if you have 6 charge potency here, then you'll be able to do a whopping 100% extra damage over here. Actually, sorry, it's not 6, it's 5. Yeah, it's 5 Love and Hatred. You will do 100% extra damage here. Then you also have base power +2. You also consume all of it to get coin power of +4 because you're eating 20 charge charge count, and then you also gain 6 charge count afterwards. Because why not? After you get 6, right, that means you have 5 charge count, which means you can use your skill 1 immediately afterwards. So rotation wise, it's so clean and it's very self-sufficient already. So she's very, very powerful by herself. It's just that if you feed her even more charge count, you can jump start her really, really fast, or you just make her pop teleport Dawn, and that is enough already. She'll be pumped up enough to go and do anything she wants here. And basically your skill 3 is your cash out skill. Skill 1 and skill 2 are like multi-cracks, where they are both your gains as well as your consumptions. So you're using this to build up, then use your skill 3 to cash out. And your skill 3 is one of the ways for you to get Magical Arcana. Now, Magical Arcana, besides using skill 3 to get it, you actually do want to rotate faster, because the evil form of Dawn is going to be able to build Hysteria, and Hysteria does give additional damage multipliers to this final part over here, and it also gives you the AoE. So if you do want the AoE form, you can actually try to go into the negative form. But if you actually only want to focus on single target damage, then you can also just stay in the positive form forever, and you don't actually have to care, because you only gain Magical Arcana when you use Arcana Beats, or if you activate your resonance here. When you activate 4 resonance, then you get Magical Arcana. So why would I ever want to go into the negative form? It's because the negative form has this one line over here, where if you're dealing with a boss and only one target, then you get additional 80% multi, so 120 plus 80% multiplier. This is based on your charge again, right? So that's a lot of damage, and it is AoE by default, but actually you want to really try and isolate one boss and just nuke them with this thing, right? That's the thing about this. You also, yeah, you can just nuke a bunch of targets, and you have 2 of these, by the way, you have 2 of these. It's really, really very, very powerful. Yeah, so Dawn is really just going to be skill 1, skill 2, and skill 3. The defense is something that I actually find myself almost never using. It's not really something that's super, super important for the character, unless you want to force specifically Envy Resonance that turn. Then you would want to pop this just to force the Envy Resonance. You still get a bunch of love and hate count, but ultimately this is a defense, so it's not going to be very offensive. You should be focusing on popping skill 1 and skill 2 non-stop, and then skill 3 whenever you want. When you go into negative form, it's the same thing. You gain the exact same amount of love and hatreds, and you also consume the same amount. Exactly the same numbers over here, which means that it's just good. Okay, I mean, this one is +5 and +3, so it's a bit weaker than this one, which is 9. So this one is going to be 8 instead, so that's 1 weaker. But whatever. If you go into negative form, you're just rotating and eating all of your love and hatred, so whatever. Don't care. Just don't care and just keep shooting the character. She's just bang, 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 bang. Skill 1, skill 2, skill 1, skill 2, skill 3. Then skill 3 again later because you pop the ego, and then so on and so forth. Repeat, rotate. That's it. The character just unga bungas. She's just a super, super unga bunga character. If you want to make her rotate faster between the light and dark forms, then make sure you have a resonance team. And if you don't care, then so be it. Don't care. Just skill 1, skill 2, skill 3 for the rest of your life. And you pop the ego one time, congratulations. That's all you need to do for a long time. When you pop the ego, you do get Magical Arcana, so it does hasten you as well. So even if you don't use a team dedicated around Dawn to build up Magical Arcanas with resonance, you can just use the egos. So you just build up your own ego, pop the ego, you get additional Magical Arcana and so on. So you can stay in the regular form as long as you want, and then you can go to the hatred form whenever you want, just by making sure you hit the resonance or don't hit the resonance. That's like, yeah, it's really, really damn strong. You will eventually go into it, because when you pop this or the ego, you will gain 1 by default, and the moment you hit 3, you will go into the dark side mode, right? And that's the only way you can actually force yourself into the mode. Yeah, so this character, very, very powerful character. Charge character, unga bunga. Definitely a very, very fun character to have. There's nothing much else to say about this character. The defense for the first time is something that I actually don't want to pop at all. I always just pop skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, skill 1, skill 2, skill 3 forever and ever and ever. And we have so many skill 3s that this is very, very possible. So yeah, definitely something to go and pick up with the other Queen of Hatred, Dawn Ego. You really, really want additional skill 3, because it makes the rotation so easy due to having extra skill 3s with this character. Just very, very powerful stuff. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the reviews. We can go to the team comps here and just see what kind of samples we're running them in. This is the event mode, so I just basically threw all of the charge count characters together and then throw the 2 officers in there. So we have the Core Dawn as well as the KOD Rodion over here. But actually, if you're running them outside of the event, what you're really going to be looking for is NV teams or charge teams, which means that you don't really want to run someone like Rodion, right? You just take her out first. You put in someone like Dawn, and then all of the other charge count related characters or anyone with egos, they help to feed charge count. Because the faster you get charge potency onto Dawn, the more damage output you're going to do with that skill tree. And you also want to try and charge up that ego as fast as possible for Dawn, because that's one of her biggest power spikes to get the additional skill tree. So you need Wrath resource, you need Envy resource, you need Gloom resource in order to build up that ego and pop it as early as possible to get additional skill tree to make your rotations very, very powerful. Right? And then we also have W Otis. You can give charge potency to her, which is very good. You can use multi-crack office fixer Heathcliff to give photo electric. You can use Reindeer, Rhino Mersault in order to give electric screaming sheep charge count to all of their teammates also can. Like, you can do whatever you want here, but the Envy team is very, very powerful with this Don Quixote for sure. Right? The other option you can use for the other Night Dawn is just throw in a sinking team. She just straight up is one of the best sinking applications in the entire game. She has so much potency application, she has so much count application, and she also has Rhyme Shank. She straight up fuels Rhyme Shank by herself. So she's just insanely good as a character, right? And the passive is also, if the target has 5+ sinking, then you inflict 1 bind and attack power down. So you can control them by being in despair form also, on top of all of the other things you're doing with sinking. And you can also trigger Echoes of the Manor. So it's 1,000,000 billion things. So you definitely always throw her in the sinking team, and you want to Unga Bunga with her. She's very, very good at that as well. Because all she needs to do is stab herself twice, hit them a few times, and boom, they have sinking on them. Just make sure you don't eat all of them with all of the teammates hitting them, and that should be good enough already. Right? Really insanely powerful Knight character for the sinking team. And we also have a very, very powerful charge character who really wants to get the ego up as fast as possible. Once you pop it, you're basically winning already. If you want to support her and make her really powerful, also can. You just want to use her as a Unga Bunga character in your Unga Bunga team, also can. She is a very, very strong character, right? So that's pretty much all I have to say about these characters. Feel free to add even more information in the comments below. Very, very fun. Very cool. It's just that I find the blessing form of the Rodion a bit awkward, because I almost never want to be in the blessing form except for fulfilling certain achievements from the event, where it's kind of useful to have her aggro and not take really a lot of damage. That's something that can be interesting, but other than that, like, just stay in despair form and just Unga Bunga the shit out of all your enemies. She's just insanely powerful in the despair form. Alright, anyway, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks guys for watching. I shall see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye bye.